in this environment that we live in today, where the world of shopping, the world of browsing, the world of transaction, purchasing, has changed and constantly changes every single day. And so historically, where we had the two worlds of communication, CMO, commerce, chief commercial officer, by definition, right? Still trying to do the same exact thing, which is get a consumer to purchase a product. But they treated it completely different, and one would argue siloed in nature, trying to do the same exact thing. Now the consumer has redefined what commerce means to them. So therefore, it has taken the control away from the brands and put the control into the consumer's hands. And now the brands have to adapt to that behavior. So in this world that we live in today, where the consumer defines space, place, and time, they can transact, they can shop, irrespective of where they are. Right? We call that the commerce has become pervasive. Okay? It is not defined, it is not bound, it has no walls. Right? It is by definition boundless commerce. The worlds of communication and commerce now have to come together to deliver communication to commerce on the terms of the consumer. And a perfect example of that is when historically you would have a journey: awareness, consideration, intent, purchase, loyalty. That journey has completely been blown up because you can go to TikTok Shop and within 5 seconds go from no awareness into buying a product, never leaving the environment, right? That is communication to commerce. What communication means to myself, to my kids, which are 17 years old, right? To my wife, to somebody else that is thinking about a need state, whatever communication gets them to the place of understanding the value proposition, anywhere, doesn't really matter, right? And so the commerce world has now shifted into the world of ensuring that they're delivering on the promise of experience. The communication world has shifted to the promise of delivering communication to drive the best experience, which is ultimately going to empower and enable the consumer to transact.
Well, I like this idea that you brought up at the opening about the idea of a chief marketing officer and the chief commercial officer. Do you see friction between these two, and how are these going to work together?
Yeah, you're seeing historically two different types of budgets: national, right, and then trade, shopper, promo, right? Both massive budgets, right? So you got a P&G that spends $1 billion on media, and then you got the P&G that spends another $1 billion in trade and shopper, right? They're trying to do the same exact thing, but what they've been incentivized historically was a chief commercial officer had to go to Walmart and create a joint business plan. I have to give you money in order for my product to be in your store. No different than the CMO has to give NBC or whoever it is money so my ad can be in front of your network, right? But in this case, what has changed now is Walmart is no longer just a retailer, they're a media network. So is Target, so is Kroger. So you got the same expectations. Hey, you should give me $30 million, $50 million, because I'm going to put your product. If not, I might not put your product there. Okay. Now I also want you to give me another $50 million to buy media so I can actually sell your product in my store. Right? That is a very, very tremendous paradigm shift in the way chief commercial officers now need to work. But here's the thing: the CMO has to come into that conversation now and say, wait. That's a media dollar, okay? That's an audience and not creative. That is my world. The chief commercial officer says, no, it's still my world, right? I'm still working on it. So now there's tension and friction between those two worlds and saying, wait, who actually controls what happens in the world of retail and commerce? Right? The other big thing is, whose budget is it now? Is it the chief commercials officer budget, or is it the CMO? Is the CMO stealing trade and shopper dollars and shifting them over because retail and commerce sit within that world now? Because it's treated as media, retail media is media. The chief commercial officer says, wait a minute, I've been doing shopper marketing. This is just the same version of shopper marketing, right? Does it really matter? Shopper marketing. A shopper can shop anywhere they want. Doesn't have to be in a store. It could be anywhere. Right? I don't think that's yet to be figured out, but it is creating, and the other thing it's creating is more silos, which beget more friction. And now you have these worlds trying to say, wait, all this money is flowing into retail and commerce. eMarketer says 100 billion by the end of 2020. I mean, we went from 10 billion to 100 billion in less than 4. It's crazy, right? Anytime that happens, and anytime there's not alignment, misunderstanding, nobody who has a clear ownership of anything, and with this fluidity, there's going to be friction.
Just wanted to ask another follow-up question too. You mentioned TikTok Shop. Are there any other kinds of platforms that you're seeing similar dynamics?
Yep.
I don't know, television,
Yep.
Connected television. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think you're seeing Amazon do the same exact thing. I think you're seeing Walmart will do almost the same exact thing. Any environment where you have a consumer's attention, in this day and age, television, which a lot of people were quick to write off, has now become a shopping platform, right? Why? Because now you're reaggregating audiences that everybody said were disaggregated. Right? You just have to reaggregate them across more platforms, right? Which the world of marketing and media has been accustomed to do, right? That's what we do for a living. So I can put an ad, Super Bowl was a perfect example of that, right? You can put an ad in a set-top box. You can put an ad more likely in a Samsung, LG, whatever, right? And a person can, at any given time, pick up their phone and say, that's great, I can buy Fandom. I can buy a new Apple Watch. I can do, right? So to me, that is boundless commerce, right? That is no longer somebody says this ad and now you're going to go somewhere else. No, there you go. And I can have it on my phone. The other interesting thing is the world of influencers has now completely changed. So the historical influencers where I pay you, you promote, and I pay you on a CPM. The new version of an influencer says, wait, I'd rather get paid on a percentage of the sales that I drive. So the influencers eventually will follow suit what has happened in Asia, specifically China, which way they will create their own network like a QVC, right? They will be the new version of a QVC. Amazon is testing that out.
Well, finally, George, this has been very informative, and thank you for being here. Looking ahead, is there anything that you're really excited about this space, or conversely, you're worried about that keeps you up at night? Any headwinds? Like, what are some of the takeaways you can leave us with?
So there's no arguing that commerce has become pervasive. So by definition, the store is pervasive. It is not bound by anything, right? So what I'm excited about is this ability to create experiences for consumers on their terms. But that's also very scary because they are now dictating the terms of what they want, when they want it, how they want it. Right? So that will be a very interesting acceleration into ideas and technologies. Most of them we'll talk about at this event today and the next couple of days, which is what are the things that are ultimately going to enable brands to still deliver the utility that they're accustomed to delivering or need to deliver to a consumer so the consumer understands the value proposition. That to me is extremely exciting. So all the partners, all the tech, all the data that now will sit within a brand, an ad tech partner, right, a media platform, and an agency, that has that fruition to actually come together, and also retail media network as well as non-retail media network, right? That synergy of those factors will, I think, create very impactful experiences.